guys, welcome to another Q&A segment on Home Truth Nigeria. Today I would be running the episode 10 on Q&A just to answer some few questions that have been asked uh, along the days with the last video I made and some other videos. So without wasting much of your time, let us go there. So somebody asked, uh, what is considered inappropriate dressing in Nigeria? So after my last video I did just a few days ago, a lot of people, both on comment section and via emails, they wrote asking, topics that are similar, wanting to know what is considered to be inappropriate dressing or appearance in terms of Nigeria, or how what Nigerians think or consider to be inappropriate. So before I talk on this or go any further, I would like to state that in Nigeria and in some other part of the world, there are certain appearances or dressing that would warrant people to say, certain things about the individual. My dad always tells me, dress the way you want to be addressed. Now, I'm not trying to discriminate anyone on how they appear or whatever style they choose to use, or put up in terms of appearance. That is totally their business. I have no business what you decide to wear, how you want to dress, what your signature move is or fashion. It's none of my business. However, I'm just trying to point out certain things that in Nigeria till today, a lot of people still think it is totally irresponsible when you have such appearances. Again, this doesn't mean that this individual may be irresponsible, but I'm just talking about the way some people think in Nigeria. Not all, but certainly most. So, for instance, sagging of pants is considered to be very irresponsible in Nigeria. In fact, your parents, as a Nigerian or African, could literally disown you if you dress like this, just as you can see on the screen. A lot of parents don't appreciate this, that their son sags, that to the point that you can see their underwear or their boxer shorts. And a lot of women would not settle for guys who dress like this because they don't consider these guys to be mature enough. They still think these guys are boys. They are boys in the body of a man. Because when a Nigerian woman wants to settle down, she is not only picking on your mind to see how mature you are, she's also looking at your dressing, like totally looking at your dressing. I can remember a friend of mine who, was sagging, and the fiance told him that, listen, all this your tight jean, that stick to your crouch, and all of this, you need to change it. You're no longer a boy, you're a man, you're getting married. And it's just the truth about that. So a lot of people frown on this kind of dressing, and they consider it to be highly irresponsible. The other thing is tattoo. Now, when I was growing up in Nigeria, tattoos was mostly something you see, from rap videos, and all of this, because it wasn't a normal thing. Uh, at best situation, you could see it from footballers, even actors in Africa. You could rarely see anybody who had tattoo when I was growing up. But I would tell you that 2 out of 20 Nigerians now have tattoos, if not more. 2 out of 20 Nigerians have tattoos. Tattoos have become so rampant. However, the truth still remains that a lot of people don't consider it to be an act of, to be something responsible people do. People think it's an act of irresponsibility. There are a lot of people who always, want to defend, always of the habit of defending tattoos, that they basically like adorning or they've put on, on their body. But again, this is something most people, a lot of parents, some older generation consider to be irresponsible. There are people who have just one little tattoo, and then you have people who have a lot. See, the ones who have a lot, a lot of women who, want to date or be with mature guys, they don't like it. So this is considered irresponsible in Nigeria. But nonetheless, like I said, having a tattoo doesn't mean that individual is basically irresponsible. That doesn't mean this individual is basically irresponsible. I once had a professor who had a tattoo. It was not in any way irresponsible. So, but I'm just talking about how people see things or visualize things in Nigeria. Another thing is the piercing. Growing up, you only see artists, musicians, celebrities, and also footballers or soccer players, with piercing. But now it's a thing, for everyone. The truth is, piercing is also still considered to be irresponsible by a lot of parents. Most parents don't want their child or son-in-law, to put, piercings, earrings on their earlobes, to come out in public. I remember one time when I was in my final year in high school, I didn't have piercing. I just took some sticker and I put it on my ear, to look like I was having piercing. And I went to meet my father came to visit. So he parked somewhere and he told me to come so I could get water. I was in a boarding school. And then when I went to him, the first thing he was looking at, he looked at my earlobes. He saw it from far. He thought I had pierced my ears. He was so pissed. He was ready to reprimand me. Only when he got closer, I saw it was just a sticker of a paper I just put on my ear. He used his hand, he took it off. So a lot of parents consider it to be very, very irresponsible. And that is the truth. 3 weeks ago, I paid a visit to a very good friend of mine. And when I got to his house, I discovered he just pierced his ears with earring studs, and both of us just froze for some few seconds, looking at ourselves. I was looking at his ear, he was looking at my eye, trying to see my reaction. The Nigerian in me wanted to start judging him, but then again, I just like, nah, yeah, there's none of my business. He's free to do whatever thing he wants, with his body. But the truth of the matter is that in Nigeria, it is still considered. Uh, Irresponsible appearance. Nonetheless, a lot of people do it these days. When you go to Nigeria, a lot of people have piercing. But if you go to most parents, sit them down and ask them if they consider people who pierce their ears to be responsible, they will tell you no. But again, this doesn't. There's no correlation or statistics to point that people who pierce their ears are irresponsible. I'm just talking about how they see it in Nigeria. And then another one is tinted hair. This is one that comes, this one that comes in all shades of color. You could see that with celebrities, musicians, and also uh, sport athletes or athletes. I know a lot of guys who have their hair tinted, but still, again, it is considered irresponsible. Most parents don't want that. They don't dig it. And most women who are ready to settle down and who dream to have a man who, for instance, they consider mature, don't want to. They would rather have their partner with a normal black hair than having a tinted hair. Most people don't say anything when women do it, but when a man does it, it's like, okay, you're not supposed to do it. The society in Nigeria has this connotation that men are not to be so much involved in fashion. Men are not supposed to have so much involvement in fashion and appearance. It's something that women should do. This still holds place in Nigeria as a whole. I could remember when I finished high school, I had a very good friend, and he had tinted his hair just like Cisco. I guess most of you in the States will know Cisco, like Cisco, and he went home and he knocked on the gate. The father refused to. The father refused to let him in. The father told him, "No, there is no way you can come into my house with this kind of hairstyle, dressed like this. It is totally impossible." So the dude called me. I came. I picked him. He came to my house to sleep for past the night until he went to the salon the next day and scrape his hair bald. So he could come inside the father's house. This shows you how parents see this. So one thing in Africa you need to understand is that no African parent wants to have a child that looks or appears irresponsible. No African parent wants that. Every African parent wants their child to appear decent in public, decent in the eyes, according to how or the yardstick Nigerians use to quantify decency. And this is the truth. Last but not least is the hairstyle. You know, there are hairstyles in Nigeria that's, even having done in this kind of hairstyle, you could get arrested by the police. The reason you're getting arrested by the police is not like you've committed any crime, but because of this hairstyle, the Nigerian police would think you're one of the Yahoo boys, because for whatever reason they suspect that they have come to have some kind of correlation that Yahoo boys mostly have, this kind of hairstyles and dressing. And this is uh, very, very much tagged irresponsible by the society. And if you are schooling in Africa, like you're in high school, your school has a standard of haircut that every person should have. So it shows you one thing, that the African society, the Nigerian society, and also parents, they are very, very particular and keen about appearance. They are very, very particular about it. It is difficult to find a teenager who's still under the roof of his parents, you know, putting up some kind of appearances, or even if you're not a teenager, as long as you're still under the roof of your parents, putting up some kind of appearances, your parents could revolt, even down to dressing and the way um you decide to appear. However, people still do that. So just to put it in a condensed form, 90% of companies in Nigeria, 90%, if not all, would not employ anybody who appears in any of this way. And this is the truth. Most companies would not want to employ somebody who sags, that you could see his underwear or his boxer short, or an individual who has his hair tinted, or somebody who has tattoos in the body and he is basically exposing for everybody in the company to see, or somebody who dons a hair that is not considered responsible. Most companies would not, and certainly do that. Most companies would not. Maybe some private companies would, but in Nigeria, no government company will. I don't know of any large establishment or firm that would. So maybe if you are somebody who is into art, you're self-employed, you do your thing yourself, you're an artist, whatever. Of course, you could don any of this hairstyle, but most companies wouldn't give people with this kind of appearance employment. It's not that they are not good enough. It's not like the employment, this appearance makes them to be less fit or worthy to take up that position. It's just, as I said, most people want to protect their image, and that is the truth about this. So again, let me reiterate: putting up this appearance has no correlation to irresponsibility. However, in the Nigerian society, people think when you have or you appear a certain way, you could be tagged irresponsible, and that is the truth. No capping on that. The next question, a lady commented, "Run from all Nigerian men." So a lady posted this: "Run from all Nigerian men." This for me is not true. It is prejudice to say all Nigerian men are the same. It's not the most intelligent thing to say, in my opinion. Like I've always said, some of the problems a lot of you have with Nigerian men comes from you, Western ladies. 80% of the problem you have with Nigerian men, it comes from you. And that is the truth. Now, the first thing is you need to understand who the Nigerian men are, the culture of the Nigerian people, and how we do things, our modus operandi, especially when it comes to relationship, getting to know each other. Uh, Personally, myself, I've dated people from different part of the world, and I had to inform myself. I really had to inform myself how, people from other part of the world, how they do things, how their women, how you handle their women, how their women see things. Of course, it's not 100% full condensed information, but the little information I got was really helpful. And the truth of the matter is that you meet an American woman coming to date a Nigerian man, and he's talking to him like she's talking to an American. He's not American; he's Nigerian. His understanding and reasoning is different. So if you don't invest time to understand the culture of these people, you would have problem. Nigerian men, the real Nigerian men, are very nice. If you take your time to know a Nigerian man and you guys eventually marry, you will discover that the Nigerian men are nice. If you allow a Nigerian man within your profile to date you and marry you, you would enjoy what it means, to be with a Nigerian. One major problem a lot of you Western ladies have is greed. because I still don't understand how you can be, you know, you're 60, you're heading into retirement, yet as if you're not retired, and you're thinking of having a future with a Nigerian man who is half your age or young enough to be your grandchild or your child. It basically won't work. It won't work. And that's true because one way or the other, nature would take its course on that relationship. Nature would split both of you. It definitely won't work. A lot of ladies don't like me saying this because it's like I'm stopping them from basically living their dreams. I always say this and I've always indicated, stick to men within your profile. Don't go and marry men that you can have a future with. If you don't want to have problem with Nigerian men, please avoid relationships like you see on my screen, because on the long run it will never work. And I'm not placing courses; it's just natural. Such marriages like this would not work. It is basically you picking an escort, paying for the escort to come to your country to live with you for some time. The moment you run out of cash paying his escort, he will leave, to go to go start his life. And that is basically what is happening. And because a lot of people are so gullible and they find it very hard, to take the truth. They still go in for this. It is summer. If you go to the Korea registry, a lot of Western ladies they're still trooping in, to pick their own Nigerian man, get married to him, and bring him that. And then on the long run, in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, when it doesn't work, you on your ring lights and then you make a subtle video. Why everyone should be careful with Nigerian men. But this is not the case for everybody. Now, a lady asked this: could you make a video about social media or WhatsApp etiquette and talking sweetly to other women? What is appropriate and what is not in a relationship? Like, I miss you or hi, darling. Talk to others and they have said it can mean nothing. That's the way that's the way they're doing it. This is a very good question. So here's the thing: when you're doing a long distance relationship with a Nigerian, 90% of what happens is not under your control. I always love when some of you are far, you're trying to influence or try to control or monitor what is happening in Nigeria. You're dreaming. You underestimate how smart Nigerians are. You totally underestimate. I once spoke to a lady who said, "Oh, they have this thing they used to track their movements. They have this." I said, "But your guy could keep that tracker, the phone somewhere, and then he's somewhere because the tracker is not a chip inside his body." Never underestimate how smart Nigerians are. So if you're in a long distance relationship, the first thing I will tell you is just pray that you end up with a dude who is faithful and respectful to you. And this is not easy, especially with the way the society is nowadays, where everything is about, everything is sexualized, the way the generation is today. So you just have to cross your fingers and hope that you're lucky to find somebody who is faithful and respectful towards you. Now, I need to point out that there are certain words in the Western world that you guys use that are very much considered to be sacred and restricted for lovers in a romantic relationship. This may not be the case for Nigerians. For instance, everybody could be your dear or darling in Nigeria. And this doesn't mean this individual has any form of romantic interest or feeling or affection. Because a lot of people use even sweethearts. For instances, you could say hello to someone and somebody will say, "How are you, my darling?" It doesn't mean this person has any emotional affection towards you. There are a lot of times I've done something nice to people in Nigeria and they say, "Oh, you're such a sweetheart." But there is no romantic feeling between me and this individual. So, one thing you need to stop bothering yourself about is the fact that or words Nigerians use. You see, Nigerians don't care about political correctness as it is in the Western states. We don't care about political correctness. We speak just as we want to speak. We're very direct and expressive, and we say what we want to say in different shades and form. You could see a Nigerian man, call a lady and say, "Hey, babe, what's up?" It doesn't mean they're dating. It doesn't mean they have anything in common. Babe, what's up? Or babe, how far? Which basically translates to how are you doing? You wouldn't start, going to dissect, why did he say babe to this lady? It doesn't mean they're doing anything. It's the same thing a lady could call and say, hey, guy, what's up? It's just a way, we communicate to ourselves. And a lot of ladies, they are offended by this. A lady was reading a comment of one of her boyfriend, uh, commenting to a lady, say, thanks, babe. And she got pissed and went to him. So you have it, and it took how many people to explain to him that these are words we could use in Nigeria. Although when you translate it and say when you should use babe, you discover that okay, it's not supposed to be. But for us Nigerians, we use what we want to use when we're communicating. We're free to use what we want to use. We don't have that so much political correctness in our society. We say what we want to say. We don't like, okay, think, what should I say so that I'm not considered to be uh, this or that. No, we say it as it is. And one thing I want to say to you ladies is please, if you want to enjoy a relationship with a Nigerian man, try as much as possible to stay away from his telephone or his phone, trying to bug him. You can really give yourself a heart attack because sometimes there are communication, even emojis that you could see that would upset you because you really don't understand why this should be. But this also boils down to the fact that Nigerians can be very friendly and affectionate when they are communicating to people, but it doesn't mean they have any romantic interest for that individual in most cases. That's why you need to stay away from the phone of a Nigerian man. The next question is, how much should a Nigerian man text, call, or video call when you have turned into a long distance relationship and you need to figure out businesses, plans, dating, games, etc.? So, how much a Nigerian man should call depends on his schedule and the things he does. If he works or he does a business, you may not get enough time to speak. And if I'm a lady, I would love this not to have my boyfriend or my man who is I'm speaking to him always around the clock. It shows he's not busy. I wouldn't like that. So if you're always speaking with your man, it means both of you are jobless and it's not good. And that's the truth. It means you're both jobless and it's not good. So the truth of the matter is that there's nothing wrong in waking up in the morning, you both contact yourself, and then when you're done for the day, you also contact yourself. And if you have to do video calls, you could schedule to make video calls maybe twice a week, to talk about things, but if you are basically you're trying to monitor him like Google Earth, or trying to see what he's doing, you could lose him. I've always said to those of you who have spoken to me, one thing you shouldn't do when you're dating a Nigerian is to condescend so low, to start monitoring and tracking him because eventually he's going to get tired of you. When he gets tired of you, he would cheat on you and he would dump you. And that's the truth. So you need to be in good faith always and hope when you're in a long distance relationship that your Nigerian man is not cheating. And if there is something important to be discussed, make appointment. Like you could ask if you guys could speak on Friday or Saturday. And please, please avoid calling him during his working hours because you may put him in trouble. You may put him in trouble. He could lose his job. The job security in Nigeria is not strong like in most countries. So avoid calling him in working hours. If he tells you he's going to work, believe him. If he tells you he's going to be busy, believe him. Calling him and trying to bug him does not change anything. If he's going to cheat, he's going to cheat. So your call wouldn't stop him from cheating, and that is the truth. So try as much as possible not to condescend so low. So the bottom line is this: if a Nigerian man doesn't contact you at all, let him be. Don't go begging or singing, don't go breaking my heart. I also want you guys to understand one thing. When you are chatting or you, for whatever reason, agree to go in a long distance relationship with a Nigerian man, and along the line, later on, you discover that this guy is fading. He's not communicating like he used to communicate. There are factors. It could be maybe he has found somebody who's more interesting than you. It could be maybe he's found somebody who would, answer what is actually trying to fix. Because along the line, if most of them discover that, especially the fake ones, the Yahoo ones, if they discover that, okay, for whatever reason, they can't get any money from you, or you can't even assist them to bring them to your country, they wouldn't waste their time communicating with you. They will, one way or the other, ghost you and vanish. So it's always important to you ladies, when you notice this behavior, try to exit when the ovulation is loudest. Don't wait till you turn into an idiot before you know that, okay, you're supposed to leave. So in conclusion, guys, please, if you have questions, kindly ask me. Write me your questions on hometruth86 at gmail.com. I repeat, hometruth86 at gmail.com. One thing is for sure, always try to date within your profile. When you within the age, when you date a Nigerian man within the age of your profile, you would enjoy that Nigerian man. You would celebrate him. You would grow old together. Don't date someone who you can't grow old with, because you're already old. So you can't grow old with this person. And that is the truth. So always, 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 please stick to men within your age profile, and you would be fine. You'll be very, very much fine. So with this, ladies, I'd like to say thank you. We shall see ourselves on Wednesday. Home to Nigeria. Peace.